I haven't sent out
the back of
the
those
same
same
messages.
Adjourned for
Stanley
10
mark to
minutes.
them, they said no
It's
problem.
crazy.
We'll just service some extra that
Like, I just
weekend.
want a day right
Yeah, I'm
out
afraid
of
of the
anything.
weather.
Good evening and welcome to the City Council Conference meeting of Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. We have one item on the agenda. Mr. Mattingly.
All right, thank you. We're coming back to you after we opened bids for the tank paintings. We were planning to paint the Robinson Water Tower regardless, and then we threw in the Lindsay Tower, and we threw in logos and kind of came up with a different bunch of options, and want to bring those to you and share and make some decisions on how to go forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Ken.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Yeah, it's just an update we talked about 6 weeks ago, and this should at least kind of fill in some blanks and make it a little easier to make a decision. Again, what we're going to do with Lindsay Tower. Just a quick review. Lindsay Tower, obviously you can see from the map, everybody knows where Lindsay Tower is, I'm sure, but it's probably less than a mile from the stadium. It's right by the intersection there, Classen and Lindsay. It's a busy place. It's very visible. People see it every day, probably, most of you. It's been out of service for us for about 10 years. We've been looking at various options what to do with it. It's still in good shape, but it's definitely due for a coat of paint, as you can see from the picture there on the left. As we discussed last week, like I said, we've been looking backwards and forwards, trying to find a way for us to use it as a utility asset, and nothing worked. Just everything we tried, just the numbers didn't add up, which kind of leaves us two options. We could demolish it, just be done with it, which is typical, usually what we would do in this situation. The other option is, because it's in a visible location, and it's still a cool old tank, it's kind of a landmark, we could, if the decision was made, we could recoat the outside, put some logos on, maybe an OU logo, an SEC logo like we see there, and it would look kind of cool, just be something, a little different. I know in Texas they've done a couple of them. Our engineer was telling us he's seen a bunch of them that are pretty interesting, actually, same kind of thing, where they were done with the tank, but everybody loves it so much they painted it and kept it around. So it's not rare or odd to do it. So cost, just a little bit about the cost. Obviously, we demolish it. That's ours. That's our baby. We pay for that, and we're done with it. If we decide to resurface it, like we said, we're on the hook for demolishing it anyway. We'd be happy to kick that into the cause. But whatever the additional cost would be, it would have to come from somewhere else in the budget. And another thing, I don't know if we pointed this out last time, but future maintenance, obviously, eventually you got to repaint it, whether it's probably 20 years from now. But at that point, we'd be out of the Lindsay tank business, and again, the funds would have to come from another source within the city. So, just something to think about as well. And like Chris said, we were planning to bid Robinson Tower anyway. So we said, here's a great opportunity. Let's just combine, get some numbers for Lindsay Tower too. We can compare them, and at least we'll know the cost numbers, and we can make a decision with eyes wide open what we want to do. So last Thursday we did open bids. There's two columns here. The column in the middle there, that's the bid for Robinson Tower, which is ours, and to demolish Lindsay Tower. And that low bid was $816,000 odd. The company G&L, they're a great company. We've worked with them before, so they do good work. We're not worried about them. The other option on the right there, that's the cost to do Robinson again, which is ours, and the cost to repaint the exterior of Lindsay. And that one, the low bid, was actually a different company. Tank EZ is also, they've done work in the city. They're a good company. So no worries there as well. So at least we got two good contractors, whatever we decide to do. As far as cost, like we said, it would be basically we're on the hook for the $816,200 regardless, and the low bid to paint the exterior is 1.2, and the difference is a hair under $400,000. So that would be the number that would have to come from somewhere else, wherever we wanted to get those funds. And just a couple more points, just for your info, just to consider as well. As far as schedule. The demolition, we probably would not be able to do that this summer. So unfortunately, if we took that route, there'd be a rusty tank there for the next football season, for better or worse. Resurfacing, on the other hand, we think, and it's not a guarantee, we'd have to get our contractor on board, but we think if we award that quickly, we could have that painted and looking good for football season, if we went that route. Couple other points. We've been talking to OU anyway about logos on some of our other tanks, and Lindsay as well. And at first, probably a month or so ago, they were gung ho. Yeah, we got money. We're happy to pay for it. If you can get us numbers, let's talk. lately, the last couple weeks, they've been kind of backpedaling a little bit. They're not quite as eager. We actually got pretty decent numbers as part of this bid, and we gave them to them, and they said, well, we'll look at that. Maybe we can change, maybe that'll change our thinking. But at least as of this moment, they didn't think they were gonna be doing any logos anywhere this year anyway. So just food for thought, that's, again, we talked to them more and we gave them these numbers, and that perked them up a little bit because they were good numbers, so maybe that changes their mind, but no guarantees, definitely. And that's it. Let's go back to the slide just to look at just to have the number up there, any questions or thoughts?
So I'll just kick it off. I think just seeing the numbers, and I mean, I was thinking about the future maintenance costs if we do, paint it. I mean, that's not a small number, and it's out of the general fund, and we've got lots of priorities. I'm not saying that I prefer to tear it down, but given what the numbers are, and that OU is kind of bulking on maybe being partners in doing logos and stuff, which I think would be the right move to do, but it's their logos, it's SEC stuff, it's not city. Given all of those things, I think that unfortunately, I would probably want to go the route of just demoing it. Sorry, Councilmember Holman.
Almost $1 million to get rid of history.
Yes, sir.
That's also painting the other water tower.
We finished.
No, it's all right. The 386, is that painting and logos? Like if we were just to paint it, is that a cheaper price?
Well, that's the number, that does include logos on that tank.
Okay.
If OU wasn't willing to pay, we'd probably have to, well, again, it's depending on where funding comes from.
Well,
we might
that's
have to look
kinda-
at backing that number out.
It's kind of a two-part question. One, yeah, if we don't do the logos today, can we paint it and basically give OU a future opportunity to put logos on there?
Absolutely, that's an option.
And could we even paint OU logos on there without their permission?
We could, I don't, we.
Have to ask 'em, yeah.
Yeah, we
I
have to.
just didn't know if they'd have to be the
But
ones to
I
pay for
think
that from
they'd
like
be
a
pretty
trademark.
grateful if we did, I don't think they'd
Well, I mean,
complain.
anything that you did on campus, as someone who worked on campus, had to go through licensing if you were
Yeah.
gonna do anything with their
what I'm
logo.
asking.
So we'd probably have to go through
They have to give
licensing
the
to get
license.
approval to
Right.
do it. I can't imagine that they wouldn't say yes to something like that, but yeah, you would have to go through those processes.
But I think we had a price on the stickers.
Yeah, we have some pricing, and it's kind of different.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, it's kind of convoluted because we have two different low bidders depending on which direction we go. But it would be, well, if we're gonna go for the painting, Lindsay, it would be an extra, well, actually be $20,000 is what it's costing. So if we went without the OU logo, that number would actually be $20,000 less.
366.
It'd be 366.
At least wanted you to hear what ballpark we were in for that.
Sure.
Does that include OU and SEC
Yeah,
logo?
yeah, that was both, yeah.
Those are 20 each? Or 20
For
total?
that tank, no, total 20, for that tank.
And OU approached us about the logos. We didn't have that intention.
They
called
kind
us
of, they
out
kind
of
of
the blue
planted
one
that bug
day.
in our ear and.
I think it'd be a real missed opportunity if we didn't put the logos on there.
Agreed.
We put Norman on there.
Yeah, we
Yeah, that was the idea, we were gonna put Norman on the other
We
side.
usually do that.
Yeah. So probably be that we facing the stadium, we'd probably have the OU and then the other side.
Holman Tower.
Yeah, they know they're an OU and want to
He's
stay.
saving it. He's gonna chain himself.
They're an OU and want to stadium.
Or maybe reverse it too, maybe advertise us on that side, that's a good point too.
So is it possible if we did do it, if we fronted the cost of it, could the city be paid back if other entities did come forward? Like the Arts Council or use of the hotel motel tax for tourism?
How would you do
Or
it?
OU donors?
Well, depending on the nature of the funding, we can rearrange some priorities in the capital budget for the $386,000. And if council says that's what you want to do, we'll sharpen the pencil and bring you a solution. If other agencies participate, yeah, we just put it right back in the fund from which the expenditure comes.
I mean, to me, just painting it white is just so it doesn't look like it's a rusting water tower
Right.
anymore. But really, the goal would be for it to become community art piece that is changing every 10 years, or whenever it needs to be repainted, then a new mural gets put on it, or something like that, where it's a constant evolution of
That's interesting.
what it looks like, and then it's, because it's so tall and prominent, that it becomes something that's kind of I don't know, something that people would come to Norman to see, maybe even. But just painting it white is to get it so it's just a clean looking, plain,
Right.
until whatever the community figures out we would want to do with it when it comes to a
Canvas.
future art canvas is basically what I view it as. Like I mentioned before, it could look like a spaceship or like a rocket ship, or that's just one idea because it kind of looks like that anyway. But that's how I see it going, is something that's constantly through the years would hopefully become a more community funded project over the years if the city's able to kind of get it restored and get it in good shape, and then from here on it's a community project that takes care of it for the rest of the time it stands.
Councilmember Wall? What is the lifespan once it gets repainted?
Let me say 20, because, the Robinson Tower that we're repainting, it was painted in like 2003 or 4. So it's been about 20 years on it.
So
It
we
looks
haven't-
decent, it gets chalky looking,
Right.
but it's not
It can
rusty.
go longer than that
Right.
as well. So, I mean, and I'm with Councilmember Pullman. I mean, it's a community art piece. And we
Is it
spend-
longer if
we
there's no
spend more.
water in it?
Do what?
Would the paint last longer if there's no water in it and condensation and all that stuff?
That's a
It
good
might,
question.
I mean, it might, theoretically, maybe a few more years, yeah, but it's not in general, it's kind of you never quite know anyway. but
When we
you hope.
painted the Robinson Tower, I know Tanemic was coming out with a longer life paint.
Yeah, and
so
that's
I
definitely
think
what we'll be using here.
We'll
is
be
that
using
higher
a better
quality.
paint than we did in 2003 or 4. Used to, they would tell you to paint them every 10 to 15 years.
Exactly.
And now they're saying 15 to 20, and you can see it goes past 20.
Yeah. And now, when that first came out, some of the contractors didn't quite know how to use it, so now they're very good at it. Everybody uses it, so they're pretty dialed in. It usually gets a pretty solid 20 years, at least, if not, and 5 or 10 more.
All right. I like the idea of a public art piece that evolves, but also, do we have to say yes now until we find out from the other entities that we've talked about, NAC, OU? Can we not go back around and be like, so what would you like to contribute to our community's public art piece?
We can wait on that. We were just hurrying, OU asked us, could we get it painted really quick and have it ready for the football season? They actually asked for July 1st. And so, can't make July 1st, but our painters say August is a chance, is that
It's
right?
possible, yeah, definitely.
So that was the only reason we were rushing it, but we could go paint Robinson, and then Lindsay, they'll mobilize to Robinson, and they'll be ready to take Lindsay, they'll probably be saying, do you want us to paint that, or? So we'd still have a few months.
So they could weigh in and be like, okay, thank you for saying you're gonna paint it, and this is our contribution. Okay, and then for the Arts Council stuff, there was that mural program that we gave seed
Exactly what I
money
was
to. How does that work exactly? Can it be on public property, or is it supposed to be on private?
I think there's
Building.
2 sets of rules, one for each, and I think they're still flushing a lot of that stuff out, but.
Yeah.
I know by the terms of our agreement, it has to be, I believe, on public property or viewable from public property, so this is.
Definitely hit the mark. Okay. So yeah, I'd like to talk to NAC a little more too, about a quad for the future. Cause like if you're gonna put Norman on their side, maybe they could do it and it'd be a really cool mural.
Could be anybody's logo that wants to contribute to it. It's logo as far as I'm concerned.
Corporate sponsorship.
Don't open that up. Open that in.
I also really like the public art piece, the mural concept, and I was thinking about how much did the financial center's mural cost? Because I can't imagine it was $386,000 over there, and so, not to say that, this will sound horrible, that we can get artists cheaper than we can get labor out here, but I mean, I'm using an artist might be a more efficient way to get something on there. I'm just trying to think, like, you know,
But we still have to paint it white and it has.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind, it does have lead, their paint on there now is lead based, so we gotta get that off.
Okay.
Which is is a big part of the cost.
so that's a big part of the cost.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So if we, you know, doing this in the future, it's not gonna be 386,000 again, probably.
Well, and I hesitate just because, remember, we're also kicking in a piece of the price too. So it might be that amount again, you know what I mean? I couldn't promise you one
What
way or
did
the other.
Robinson come in?
We're not gonna have to remove.
Yeah, Robinson,
That's
just for comparison, Robinson's almost the same size and
Right.
the same height. And that one, just to paint it, is 500,000.
Okay.
No lead.
No lead. So that might be a good number to think about for, 20 years
That's
in the future. Whenever you want
it's
to
a solid
repaint.
base and a solid top, right? Where this has got all the lattice work and kind of, it's very labor intensive on
Yeah,
this
agreed.
one.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Okay.
I just mean, they have to paint, the professionals have to paint the base
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
can get
Okay,
furnace.
yeah,
So we still have the cost.
I forgot about the lead paint part.
Yeah.
The other part of the question is, since there is no gravy, and we're looking at 386, what do you not want to spend next year that'll pay for this? And I think that's another discussion. I think it's great to be up there. I wish the university would contribute to it and be partners in it. If we leave it for a year, that was going through my evil little mind, leave it ugly and then somebody's gonna complain and then they're gonna help us with it. But I don't know if that's a very nice neighbor tactic. But it's a lot of money for immediately. Yes, sir.
Well, maybe if, like Chris says, we start and do the Robinson one, and as they're getting closer to the end of that one, we say to OU, hey, we can get this done before football season starts. Do you want
Is that a Brian decision?
Do you want to help get it done before football season starts, or it's going to be sitting here for at least another year, rusting away?
Yeah, because even if you chose demolition, it's still sitting there for a year.
We've been speaking with Leah Beasley.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she goes to a committee.
Yeah, she's got a committee, and she's in the athletic department, but I think they have a committee that's kind of working on the transition to the SEC conference and all the little things that go with that. So, yeah, she was gonna go back to her, we gave her these prices, and she was gonna go back to her committee and decide, so it might be, like I said, it might be a change of heart, maybe once they get together, they may say, ooh, they're good numbers, let's rethink this.
So what's the cost? So, okay, that's the total for doing the other tower and demo. Okay.
Yes, correct.
Just making sure that was the right one.
All right, any other questions or thoughts?
I'd like to take another run at partners.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to give up on it
I've
yet.
heard some other feedback from OU, different people at OU than that. So,
And as far as Robinson, I'll ask the question, without the OU thoughts, we would just paint our Norman back on there like it is today. Should we offer it to them to put a logo on there? I mean, are you guys still open to that?
on
or-
Robinson?
It'll be the new James Garner.
New
off
circle will
of
be right
Flood,
there.
right
there,
there
yeah,
downtown.
yeah.
Let's see if they want to.
I mean,
Ask
I'll
them
take
how
that
much.
gravy train money.
That logo is gonna be 200,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't want the Robinson Tower.
Paint it on the north side so the aircraft can see it.
That's right.
No, I'm kidding.
We'll bring that to you
Oh,
before we pick a logo on that one, just to make sure everyone
A cool
agrees or
Norman
have a new
logo.
idea. We're open to any ideas on them.
Up there now is just the word Norman, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We kind of angle it so you're coming down 77, that's what you first see.
So, I mean, the idea, if we're gonna talk about the Arts Council with this one, I think it'd be really cool. I mean, like, the Norman is just like generic. It's like a red,
Plain.
kind of
Yeah.
plain font. It might be pretty cool to see like artists submit like for a mural for that one, which is also pretty prominent, and we're gonna have that roundabout and kind of a nice thoroughfare into downtown. See like what they might come up with for like a Norman kind of like logo, because you've seen like the ones for like other cities where they have like every letter is like a different thing, a component of the city. Like they can be really cool. Like that might be neat.
Okay, we can
So
do
like
that.
as we're talking about partnerships, like I think it'd be worthwhile to see what the Arts Council might be able to do with that one too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd just say, ideally, at least in my mind, it would have, Norman on one side of it, OU on the other, and maybe the SEC logo, but the middle band be for that and then the bottom bowl part, the top of it, and then the shaft down the middle
Yeah.
be available for whatever we come up, whatever
Mm-hmm.
rules or whatever we come up with. Having a contest for it, multiple contests for it, who knows?
How are you gonna get to it though?
Yeah, well, I wondered that when Rick was doing the first financial center. I know it's a flat wall, but I had wondered how he was gonna paint a mural in the back of a 6-story building like that.
I know on these,
Yeah.
they have really cool air pneumatic chairs. So you just, it's like a motor, and it'll take you right up or right
Yeah,
down.
those guys, yeah, and they fly
They
around
look
that thing.
fun to
like it's-
ride, actually.
Yeah. One time I tried, Hager tried to talk me into going up there and changing the light bulb on the top. After about 25 steps, I realized there were about 5,000 steps left to go. That was a religious experience. I'm going back down.
Furthest I've got up on one of those.
It's not happening. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, and
Thank you.
get back to you. Anything else? All right, we are adjourned until, yay, 6:30. Good evening, and welcome to the City Council, Norman Utilities Authority, Norman Municipal Authority, and Norman Tax Increment Finance Authority meeting of April 23rd, 2024. Madam Clerk, will you please call a roll?
Councilmember Ball,
Present.
Councilmember Schuler,
Here.
Councilmember Montoya,
Here.
Councilmember Grant,
Here.
Councilmember Nash,
Here.
Councilmember Foreman. Here. Councilmember Holman,
Here?
Councilmember Peacock,
Here.
Mayor Hykela.
I am here. Thank you, ma'am. Would you all join me in a pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we have proclamations. This is a proclamation proclaiming April 20th, 2024 as the 50th birthday of the Community After-School Program in the city of Norman. I need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and second. The motion on the floor is to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation. Council members, you may cast your vote.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll read the proclamation. A proclamation of the mayor of the city of Norman, Oklahoma, claiming Saturday, April 20th, 2024, as the 50th birthday of the Community After-School Program in the city of Norman. Whereas 50 years ago, the Community After-School Program answered the call to provide after-school care in the Norman community. Since that time, CASP has expanded and changed and now pivoted its services to meet the growing needs of our local community. Whereas CASP has been a safe haven for children in the Norman community since 1974. Whereas CASP works to assist elementary students improve literacy outcomes by providing free one-to-one literacy tutoring. Whereas CASP works in partnership with local organizations to bring its services to those most in need within our local community. Whereas CASP has provided quality programming and services to thousands of children and families in the Norman community during the last 50 years. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of the City of Norman, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim Saturday, April 20th, 2024, as a day to celebrate the 50th birthday of the Community After-School Program, and let us recognize CASP in its critical role in the growth and development of the city of Norman by supporting working families through both child care and now tutoring services. I'd like to recognize Terry Craig, Executive Director. There you are. Okay. All right, that'll work.
Members of the council, thank you very much from the CASP staff and the CASP Board of Directors for this recognition and honor. This is a very special milestone in CASP's history. It has been a wonderful opportunity this year to look back at the last 50 years and celebrate many milestones and successes, and to now look forward to the next 50 years. CASP has been a crucial and beloved member of my family since 1987. Remembering all of the fun times, the playful activities, learning moments, and the growth through hard work and effort, CASP has been a special place in my heart. My younger brother is a CASP Kid alumni, as are my two daughters. My sister developed her teaching and leadership skills at CASP as a staff member, as have several professional educators in our community. The love, care, and attention that CASP gives each child in its program has had a profound effect on my family. There was always a thoughtful educational plan that inspired children. My kids learned, played, and developed lifelong friendships in a safe and inviting environment where they could have fun and try new things. Cooking club was especially popular at my house. After changes in the school district 2 years ago, CASP had the opportunity to transform itself and focus on what it does best, tutoring kids. Today, we have partnerships across the community to provide free literacy tutoring to elementary school students, including the City of Norman's after-school program. We continue to recruit tutors, expand partnerships, and passionately seek new opportunities to tutor Norman's kids. As we look to the next 50 years, CASP is committed to being a partner in the community to provide safe, engaging, fun learning environments to kids in Norman where they can grow, learn, and become the best versions of themselves. Again, at CASP, we thank the city for this recognition and this honor, and we appreciate all you do for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, a proclamation proclaiming Wednesday, May 15th, 2024 is Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week of May 12th through May 18th, 2024 is National Police Week in the city of Norman. I need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and second. The motion on the floor is to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation. Council members, you may cast your vote.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation passes unanimously.
I'll read the proclamation. A proclamation of the mayor of the city of Norman, Oklahoma, proclaiming Wednesday, May 15th, 2024 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week of May 12th through May 18th, 2024, Police Week in the city of Norman. Whereas Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15th as National Police Officers Memorial Day and the week of May 12th through 18th, 2024 is National Police Week, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, by protecting the innocent against the deception and the weak against the oppression. And whereas members of the Fraternal Order of Police Auxiliary invite residents of Norman to participate in Project Blue Light by placing a blue light in front of their homes or places of business during National Police Week, in remembrance of those law enforcement officers who gave their lives in the line of duty, and for the officers who continue to keep our neighborhoods and communities safe. Excuse me. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of the city of Norman, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, May 15th, 2024 is Police Officers Memorial Day, and the week of May 12th through May 18th, 2024 is National Police Week in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty, and let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of fallen heroes. I do hereby invite all citizens to attend the Law Enforcement Memorial Service on Friday, May 17th, 2024 at 10 a.m. in the Legacy Park Amphitheater, located at 1898 Legacy Park Drive. I'd like to recognize Detective Sean Judy to come forward, please.
Sorry, my fault.
Good evening, and thank you on behalf of the Norman Police Department and the Norman Police Department Honor Guard. I'm Detective Sean Judy. As a member of the Honor Guard, we're a ceremonial team whose mission is to commemorate our profession and our heritage and to honor the men and women who sacrificed their lives in the service of their community. In 2023, 136 officers across the United States were lost in the line of duty, including 4 officers in Oklahoma. In 2024, 47 officers to date have given their lives, including 1 from this state, Investigator Brian Herbert with the Osage Nation Police Department. On May 17th at 10 a.m., members of the Norman Police Department, the Moore Police Department, and the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office will join to honor our fallen officers at Legacy Park. We cordially invite you to join us as we remember the heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice to their communities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item number 3, a proclamation proclaiming the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as the 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week in the city of Norman, Oklahoma. I need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation.
So moved.
I have a motion and second. The motion on the floor is to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast. Receipt of the proclamation passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll read the proclamation. A proclamation of the mayor of the city of Norman, Oklahoma, proclaiming the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as the 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week in the city of Norman. Whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and the agencies of government at all other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality regarding equal service to all. And whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on the functions of local government and community. And whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of the City of Norman, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th through 11th, 2024, as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Ms. Brenda Hall, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities that they represent. Congratulations. Do you want to go down there?
Don't worry, I won't need that long. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for recognizing this week. I know, as in my profession, clerks as well as myself take pride in being that hub or that connection between the community and our government, and we try to make that as easy as possible and as open as possible. So thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, Jamie and I had to sneak that in. She did not write her own proclamation.
And I appreciate you doing that. Item number 4, a proclamation proclaiming Sunday, April 27th, is Leadership Oklahoma Day in the city of Norman. I need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Motion on the floor is to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation. Council members? You may cast your vote. That's the other thing clerks do, is run the deal up here.
All votes have been cast. Receipt of the proclamation passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll read the proclamation. A proclamation of the mayor of the city of Norman, Oklahoma, proclaiming Thursday, May 2nd, 2024, is Leadership Oklahoma Day in the city of Norman. Whereas Leadership Oklahoma exists to educate leaders across the state of Oklahoma on critical issues facing its communities, with their mission being to create, inspire, and support its member leaders whose commitment to service and excellence energizes them to positively shape our future. And whereas Leadership Oklahoma's signature initiative is its annual 10-month program that takes class members deep into the state's inner workings and everywhere across the state, from the Great Plains of the Panhandle to the hardwood forests and pine-covered mountains of southeastern Oklahoma. And whereas participants become familiar with the social and environmental complexities that afflict Oklahoma, including sovereignty, tourism, criminal justice, state government, education, economic development, military issues, agriculture, and energy. And whereas discussions with state leaders deepen participants' understanding of the opportunities, needs, and resources inherently available in the wide range of Oklahoma industries. This in turn stimulates collective problem solving for the greater good of the Sooner State. And whereas the program also works to develop the next generation of leaders through sister programs such as their Youth Leadership Program, which is available to high school juniors, and exists to strengthen the efforts to retain Oklahoma's most valuable asset, its youth. And whereas Leadership Oklahoma has nearly 40 years of cultivating Oklahomans to become leaders in their communities and across the state. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of the City of Norman, Oklahoma, do hereby wish to commend the Leadership Oklahoma program for their years of continued service of improving our state, and to proclaim Thursday, May 2nd, 2024, as Leadership Oklahoma Day in the city of Norman, and encourage all citizens to acknowledge the dedication and commitment of those who serve this impactful program. I'd like to recognize Hayden Street to come forward. There you are. I knew I'd see him.
Oh, okay.
That's all right.
Mayor and council, thank you so much for this proclamation. It is an honor to be here before you this evening. As a graduate of Leadership Oklahoma, I became a member of the planning committee that was instrumental in helping to bring Leadership Oklahoma to Norman. There are many cities that put in bids to host this event, and we are very proud that Norman has been selected once again. We are featuring an entire day highlighting education, including Norman Public Schools, the university, career tech, everything to do with education, and it's also their graduation. So we're very excited to be highlighting all the treasures that Norman has to offer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now it's time for council announcements, and we'll start down with Ward 1.
All right.
Just a few quick ones. The bike park cleanup on 24th and Lindsay, we was going to do it on the 27th due to the weather that's coming up and the terrain out there. We're going to postpone that to May 18th. So I'll have another chance to announce that here 2 weeks. What I won't have a chance to announce again, we finally have our turn for spring cleanup, Ward 1. So if ours will be on May the 4th, that's also going to be the day of the Norman recycling electronics recycling here at Andrews Park. So if you have anything with a cord that you need to get rid of and want to do it the right way, bring it up here and they'll be more than happy to take it off your hands. And I think that's all I got tonight, so.
Okay. So I was absent the last 2 weeks from meetings for some work travel and then for some personal travel. So I just want to let everybody know that I'm digging out from all of the emails. So be patient with me. I will get back to you. And hopefully some people, I tried to get people to call the Action Center things if I was not available readily. So I'm getting to them. I would also like to just acknowledge that tonight is in some ways the start of the more public process of the budget season. Our finance director would say that we're pretty much always in budget season. He's always working on the budget and we're getting, compiling, but tonight is the first public hearing that we have on the budget. We will have a second one and then budget adoption will be on June 11th. So now is really, I think, the critical time where we get feedback on what is the proposed budget from the city manager. We can, have amendments to what that's going to look like on the final night, but making sure that everybody is staying abreast of all of the information and how those things go, and making sure that if you have any objections to what is currently proposed, that you are getting those to us or your council member directly so we can address those things with city staff. That's all I got.
Mayor. Good evening, Ward 3 and Norman, Oklahoma. I don't have any announcements this evening other than just a reminder of the May 4th event, as Councilmember Ball alluded to, at Reeves Park from 9 to 12. So for those of us here and watching online, thank you all for being here.
Good evening, Ward 4 and City of Norman. I'd like to thank Michelle Laudenbach for helping us with our first courthouse and original town site neighborhood cleanup on Saturday. A coalition of neighbors, volunteers from Center for Children and Families, a nonprofit located in original town site, and one of the property owners in the 400 block of Main helped to collect a total of 250 pounds of trash from alleyways, waterways, parks, and our streets. Examples of items removed included a shopping cart, which is a geo-locking one, and it's not supposed to leave the parking lot, but it did. It was an original town site. And used motor oil, which there are proper ways to dispose of that, and hanging out in a ditch is not one. If other neighborhoods, nonprofits, and businesses would like to keep Norman neat, you can visit the Keep Norman Neat page on the City of Norman website to sign up and organize your own cleanup. This is just an ode to Michelle Laudenbach, but I'd like to thank her again, plus the additional city staff who put together an excellent 25th Earth Day Festival at Reeves Park on Sunday. It was a great event, and Ward 4 resident Kathy Bowden took home the ECAB James O. Harp Environmental Recognition Award for the foam recycling program. The next collection date in Norman will be May 11th from 10 a.m. to noon at Norman Public Library West. To learn more, please visit the University Lutheran Church and Student Center, www.ulcsc.org, and visit the Green Team webpage. And they say you can find them on Facebook if you search for Churches Caring for Creation, and they'll have information, inspiration, and collection intensifying events and all things green. And last, let's hope for a sunnier forecast as we head into our Norman Music Festival weekend. It was looking pretty shady last Saturday and Sunday, and then it cleared up, and I hope that's the case this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
No announcements this week.
Councilmember?
Okay, just a couple of announcements. First of all, I'm really glad about the proclamation of CASP. It's a really great program. I worked at Roosevelt back in the early 2000s, so I've experienced with it, and I think it's just a wonderful program. Ward 6, Big Trash Day is this Saturday. I've already put a lot of my stuff out, and almost all of it's gone. So go ahead and start putting it out. People are going to come through and take it all. And then I told Councilmember Schuler this just a few minutes ago. It occurred to me that we only sit on this dais 4 more times after tonight. So I'm going to have a big speech that night. So I'll save it for then. Thank you.
Councilmember.
Thank you. Just want to remind everybody, this Thursday at 4 p.m. here at City Hall, we have the Community Planning and Transportation Committee meeting. It is also live streamed on the City of Norman YouTube, and you can watch the replay of it anytime if you can't watch it live. But every month in the CPTC committee, we get an update from city staff on public transit, and we have a discussion about what's currently going on, what current projects we have, what our future plans are. We also will address or ask any questions that we've received from the public, from people that ride the system and have experiences with it. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions that you would like us to take up in the committee, please feel free to email them to me at ward7@normanok.gov or your council member if you prefer. And so we'll be having that discussion as we do every month. Last month, we discussed issues on Highway 9 with traffic collisions and fatalities. We discussed problem intersections throughout the city where traffic collisions are a regular occurrence and where fatality collisions are most likely to happen. That's an example of the kind of the things that we do in that committee. This month, we'll be talking about our standards for bridges. We've got the new voter-approved bridge maintenance program that's underway, and we've had questions about how do we build our bridges and to what standards are they done. And so we'll be having a discussion about that. So again, I would encourage anybody that's interested in public transit or street projects or sidewalks to please attend that committee or watch it online and give us your feedback. And then also want to mention that we've got a few upcoming projects in Ward 7, sidewalk projects primarily right now on College Avenue that's filling in. Basically, the only missing gap on the entire South Greek area will be filled in between Lindsay Street and Hoover. And then George Avenue between Lindsay Street and Madison Elementary will be getting an update with ADA upgrades and making it a bit safer to walk to Madison from the neighborhood there. And then we have multiple projects on Classen Boulevard, one which will connect Brooks basically south all the way to 7-Eleven at 12th and Classen, where it connects right there. And then we have another project just a bit south of there that is a gap project that will complete the sidewalk system, basically from downtown all the way south, almost to the Walmart Supercenter. And then we'll have future projects that'll get the sidewalk completed all the way down there. But those are a couple of the upcoming projects just in Ward 7 that we have funded already that'll be underway later this year. And then want to remind everybody, too, that this weekend is Norman Music Festival, Thursday night, Friday night, and then all day Saturday and Saturday night in downtown Norman. The street will be closed off. The Lions Carnival is already set up if you haven't seen it. And so it's a weekend that I look forward to every weekend or every year. As a kid growing up here, something I dreamed about was seeing Main Street closed off and seeing thousands of people in between going in and out of all the businesses and all those people getting to see what our Main Street looks like. So now that we're, I think, in year 15 of it, it's exciting to see it continue to grow every year and become one of our real premier events in the city of Norman, where we get to, again, show off our Main Street and a lot of our locally owned small businesses, which is mostly what downtown is, get an opportunity to showcase their business to thousands of people that may never see their business or even know it exists otherwise. So I would encourage everybody to go down and check that out. It's during the daytime, it's very family friendly. It is at nighttime too, but it gets a little bit more rowdy. And then also the following weekend is the Pride Weekend and Pride Parade in downtown Norman, so 2 consecutive weekends of events, big events going on in downtown. So I would encourage everybody to participate and check those out. There's so much going on in Norman all the time. Many of us have said if you're bored in Norman, you're not looking hard enough. There's literally something to do every day, every weekend for sure in this town. So that's all I have for this week. Thanks.
Councilmember?
No announcements for today. Thank you.
The mayor has nothing. Next item on the agenda is the consent docket. This item is placed on the agenda so that City Council, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine agenda items that they wish to be approved or acknowledged in one motion. If any item proposed does not meet with the approval of all council members, then that item will be heard in regular order. Staff recommends that item 5 through item 20 be placed on the consent docket. I need a motion to place items 5 through 20 on the consent docket.
So moved.
I have a motion and second. Motion on the floor is to place items 5 through 20 on the consent docket. Council members, you may cast your vote.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to place items 5 through 20 on the consent docket passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent docket.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion and second. Are there any comments from council regarding any item on the consent docket? Motion on the floor is to approve the consent docket. Council members, you may cast your vote.
All votes have been approved. The consent docket passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 21, conducting and closing the first public hearing for consideration of approval, rejection, or amendment and/or postponement of the FYE 2025 City of Norman proposed operating capital budgets. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second. The motion on the floor is to open the public hearing. Council members, you may cast your vote. Didn't go?
Motion to open the public hearing passes unanimously with Councilmember Foreman outside the chambers.
Thank you, ma'am. Recognize Mr. Anthony Francisco, Finance Director, to make a presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Council, and to the audience and public at large. I am pleased to open this first public hearing on the fiscal year 24-25 City of Norman budget and capital budget. We have come to this place in the budget process over a period of months in several finance committee and council meetings as a whole. What we have presented starting last week is the city managers or the executive budget proposal to the council. And at this point in the process, it is now open for public input formally. The overall city budget has a revenue projection of $307,477,182, with the largest portion of those revenues coming from sales tax and use tax. A larger portion also coming from utility fees and charges. On the expenditure side, we have a total budget of $297,924,185, with the largest portions of that going to public safety and public works, those areas that you would think about as services directly to the public, and our utility services that are provided to our utility customers of the water, wastewater, and sanitation utilities. The largest individual fund of the city is the general fund, which is the general operating fund of the city, supported primarily from sales and use tax revenues, which make up about 64% of our general fund budget. And I would be remiss if I did not remind everyone, and for the public, I might only hear this for the first time, that this revenue pie looks different in Norman and in any other city in Oklahoma than it would in the general fund of any other city in any other state than Oklahoma. because Oklahoma is the only state that does not use property tax as a revenue source for the general fund operations. So this pie would look about, there'd be about 40% maybe from sales and use tax, but there'd be about 30% coming from property tax. The city of Norman and no city in Oklahoma gets property tax for operations, and that's something that we like to make sure that our residents and the public understand. On the expenditure side, we are projecting to spend $108,316,271 out of the general fund budget, with the largest portions of those expenditures going to the police and fire and public works operations and the parks department. Again, those services directly provided to the public for street level public services. So again, at this time, I'm pleased to continue with the public hearing and hear from what the public would propose to add or take away from the proposed budget.
Thank you, sir. This is an opportunity for members of the public to make comments regarding this item. Remarks should be directed at council only. Once public comments have been concluded, council may choose to answer your questions. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers registered for this item?
Yes, Mayor, we'll start with Dan Munson.
I am Dan Munson from Ward 6. New buildings typically come with a 1-year warranty. We had several new building open in our city within this last year. I'd like to see $15,000 allocated to building inspections in this year's budget. And I'd like for that inspection to take place before that 1-year warranty period comes to an end. I'd like to see all warranty-related punch list items documented and then reported to the general contractor for repair. This is going to mitigate our city's risk. Switching over to license and permits, I noticed that we're estimating a 1% increase for FY25. I'm not certain that the market conditions are going to support that. If you look at the U.S. Census Bureau, the number of houses being built this year compared to last year's down. The current 30-year mortgage for a loan is 7.1%. Fannie Mae was anticipating the rate would go down to 5.9, but recently they readjusted that to 6.4%. So I think it's going to be a tough go. On to transportation, page 31 in the budget. In FY23, we spent $4.3 million on services and maintenance. In FY25, we're estimating $5.1 million. We just added 17 new buses. So why are our maintenance costs increasing? They should be decreasing. When I buy a brand new vehicle, I have a warranty. If something goes wrong with it, I bring it to the dealer and they cover it underneath the warranty. Our cost for maintenance should not be going up with putting in a bunch of new buses and getting rid of a bunch of old buses. Additionally, I'd like for us to fund a study to examine the best options for charging for bus fare for the riders on fixed route system. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Lawton all charge fares, and I think we should too. We should continue to offer no-cost rides to paratransit riders, though. I'd like to see 2 positions added, civilian traffic crash investigators, 2 fire department positions added, and then 1 wastewater treatment system operator or tech.
Stephen Ellis, excuse me.
Stephen Ellis, 633
Reed Avenue in Ward 4. I'm concerned about protecting our sales tax revenue for the budget estimates that we have in the recent budget documents. There's been a lot of discussion about that, and we realize that we're going to be decreasing our general funds cushion as we go forward through the years. The threat that I think we're seeing to this is actually the proposed tax increment finance district number 4, which is the arena project that the city is already working on with OU. It turns out you can't claim to create a retail draw that's strong enough to induce a ton of new demand from out of town without admitting that you'll also be diverting a ton of retail demand from in town. And once you see that that's likely to be the case, you can see why our sales tax is actually under threat, given that we're operating on such thin margins. All of the sales taxes in the proposed TIF number 4 district will stay within the district because it's being proposed as a 100% sales tax increment. That includes taxes on the diverted local demand. So there's going to be diversion, we know that. And if whatever diversion there is, the city loses that money that right now supports the general fund, the capital fund, transportation, public safety sales tax, Norman Ford, all those things are going to see a decrease because of the way TIFs operate in Oklahoma. If you actually look at some of the numbers in the Hunden Partners report, this is germane to the email that I sent you all on Sunday, Hunden was very proud to claim that they were going to be generating 17% net new revenue or net new activity in the TIF district. I have some qualms with that number, but it's probably lower. But if you take it seriously, that's 83% diversion. So you can actually calculate the amount of economic activity that will be diverted to the new TIF. And if you do that and calculate the sales tax on that, which would have gone to the city, but now is no longer going to the city, you're up to about 5% of the sales tax in the city by 2029. And that actually drives the sales tax revenue negative at the end of 2029. So you've got to worry about the numbers and the way this diversion works. So far, the only analysis of this proposed TIF project that takes into account diversion at all is Hunden, and they don't really do the math for you. So I'm afraid that's going to have to be up to you. So we've got to be.
Thank you, sir.
Paul Wilson. Evan Dunn.
Dunn, 1400 Garfield Avenue. I didn't see anything in there about paying the citizens who take on the responsibilities to represent their wards. I'd like to see you all get at least $1,000 a month. And in addition, I think that we need to incentivize municipal acts of goodwill. So, I love lotteries. I don't ever play the lotteries, but I love the randomness of it. So, for example, a sleep study, a body MRI. Who knows the unquantifiable value that could add to someone's life? To discover that you have cancer before it becomes a problem, to understand how to get 30 minutes of better sleep. Those little things can have a huge impact on people. And I want people to think of city government and I want them to have a smile come over their face. I want them to love their city government because the city is doing something good for them. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Cynthia Rogers.
Good evening, Cynthia Rogers, still Ward 4. I would like to just thank Mr. Francisco and the city manager for the details in the budget and a very clear indication of what assumptions are being made. So I'm going to urge you, when you look at other sorts of projections, that you recognize that the assumptions that are made are going to determine how well this budget's going to turn out. So is a 2% projection of sales tax revenue growth good, bad? I really don't know, but it seems reasonable. Now imagine, and then the projection, I guess personnel costs, we have a better idea because we know what those contracts look like. That's 4%. So right there we see that we have a structural problem going forward. We can make the budget work this year, but if your personnel costs, which is the biggest bite of your budget, is increasing faster than your revenues, there's not really much hope that sales tax revenues are going to skyrocket. We have a problem. So as you think about what we're doing today, and I know we're drawing down funds, that's not going to help us in the longer run. Now imagine that this budget came forward assuming that sales tax was growing at 3% and that personnel costs were growing at 3%. Then this budget would be fiction and wouldn't have much hope of working out. And what you're going to see when you look at the projections, or I can share it with you, on the proposed UMP TIF stuff, the arena there, that's exactly what's going on. So I encourage you to take the advice and the guidance of our city budget director in our budget and keep that in mind as we look at how we're going to fix the structural budget deficit going forward. It's not going to fix itself. Thank you.
Any final comments from regarding this budget? Yes, sir.
Anthony, I was going to see if you could briefly talk about the new IT portion that was recommended by staff this year in the sales tax pie chart.
Yes, sir. What Councilmember Holman is talking about is for the first time in this year's proposed capital budget, there is a specific set aside for information technology replacement of those high dollar expenditures that we know we're going to have to upgrade the city's computer systems, planned obsolescence as I call it, but basically replacing the Microsoft networks and those sorts of things we have to do that cost in the 6 or 7 figures. That is a capital item. And for the first time, we're trying to anticipate that by doing a set aside of 5% of the capital sales tax revenues. It equates to about $850,000 per year going forward that would be dedicated to those IT expenses.
Thank you.
While I have the floor, I would mention that the budget documents are available for perusal on the city's website.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
While I have the chance, I just want to thank Dan Munson again for being a shining star for Ward 6 and coming in with all of your good ideas. And I wrote them all down. We'll discuss. Thank you.
That's it. All right. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and second. The motion on the floor is to close the public hearing. Council members, you may cast your vote.
All votes have been cast. Public hearing passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 22, an ordinance rezoning property located at 1515 West Main Street from PUD, Planned Unit Development District, to SPUD, Simple Planned Unit Development District. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on second reading, section by section.
Motion to adopt.
Is there a representative here from the applicant? Yes, sir. Would you mind coming down?
Hi, everybody. I'm Brent Swift. 1112 Whispering Pine Drive, Norman, Oklahoma. I move a lot, so I forgot my address. I don't really have anything to add to what we've already made the requests for. I just was here to answer questions if anybody had them.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Swift? That was easy. Oh, you do? Okay.
Oh, Lauren?
Talk about what are the updates that are being requested to the SPUD. So like
Sure.
the addition of the greenhouse and some of the buildings, and then the increase in the amount of students?
Yeah, so the increase, I don't have the exact numbers, but the increase in students was the result of the pandemic, where the school previously didn't have a grades program, and we introduced a grades program, which stayed kind of under our threshold for, I'm on the board of the school, just for full disclosure. It stayed under the threshold for several years, and then now they're introducing a grades program that goes to 8th grade, so we're adding an additional 2 grades to the current curriculum. So I think it was 59 to 74 or something like that. It's in your document, but it's basically an increase of 14 or, plus or minus thereabouts. So it's really just 2 classrooms of 7 or 8 children.
And then the other site?
Yeah, so
Improvements?
the addition of the Yome, is a flex space for kids to come in and do handwork, or they have violin, they have different practices. So some children use the different facilities throughout the property for special, really it's, like a student that wants to do a little bit of extra work on a particular thing that they're working on. And so the Yome is going to be used for that. And then the garage space is going to be a flex space for them to practice, for more of the orchestra, because they have music, and so having music inside the house is not as great for the other children. So they're going to move that probably out to the flex space, which is the current garage. So they're adding a carport, which is on the drawings, to kind of to be able to cover their cars, where we can use that flex space for the kiddos and their, their instrument programs, et cetera. There's a lot of kind of moving parts to that, so.
Yeah, I'm really interested in how they're gonna, I guess, repurpose the pool into the subterranean greenhouse. Which I think is really a neat idea.
Yeah, so, that's, gonna be part of an educational tool, right, for the kiddos. So the greenhouse and the proposed, plan for that and how that kind of comes together is going to be used as an educational tool, which would involve botany and other things as the kiddos that are more advanced in the grades program. But also, it's a play-based learning environment. So these kids are also taught to garden. So there will be a garden that's part of that. So the kiddos are gonna learn to plant. They've already done this in the past, where they've planted different, wheat, and then they use the wheat and they use it for hand weaving. So it's kind of part of the overall curriculum for a Waldorf-based educational school.
Yeah, those are all my questions. Just, I guess, encapsulating kind of the changes that are coming forward with this new SPUD language. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Doesn't seem so. No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Oh, you
Comment, but it can come back.
have a comment?
Comment.
Okay. You have a question, please. A button, we have buttons up here that tell me stuff and it doesn't work. Please.
Just an update, because we get asked about it all the time, on future traffic light at Wiley Road there at Main and Wiley, where the school is.
Scott Starks, Interim Director of Public Works. That is a location that we continue to look at, continue to investigate, and we are looking for funding sources to be able to move forward that in the future.
So there is one planned, it's just in the process.
We are in the planning process of that and looking into it. Like I said, it's really going to come down to the funding of it more than anything, and just getting that put in the process. But yeah, that is a location that's definitely one that we're looking at and have on our radar.
Thank you.
Councilmember, you had a comment? Okay. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on this item. Remarks should be directed to City Council only. Once public comments have concluded, Council may choose to answer your questions. Madam Clerk, does anybody sign up to speak
I have
to this?
Cynthia Rogers.
That's it. Okay. Any final comments?
Yes, just that, I guess it's been 10 years since this came through council, and I voted for this project back then. But then there was neighborhood protest and concerns that the school would have traffic problems and noise problems, and that it would grow and create problems in the neighborhood. And there were several neighbors that spoke about that and that did sign protests to the rezoning back then. But I think we've seen in the last 10 years that they've been a wonderful addition to Main Street. They've taken very good care of that historic property. They've maintained all those big historic trees that we love. And they provide an educational component in our city that's really needed and is valued. And I'm excited that for this proposal tonight, there is no protest. So I think I just wanted to mention that. And I was thinking more like 6 or 7 years, but I'm looking right here and it says 2014. So yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Councilmember?
I kind of second that and say this facility is a gem here in Norman, and I'm really intrigued about this subterranean greenhouse idea. And I'd be remiss if I didn't connect you with Mr. Evan Dunn here in the audience. I think you guys have a lot of alignment and a lot of things to talk about.
Councilmember?
Yeah, just echoing kind of what the previous council members have said. This is in Ward 2, and I appreciate Councilmember Holman asking about the signalized intersection at Wiley and Main. It's been something that residents have been requesting for me since I've been on council. I did ask for it in the budget. I understand that it's pretty expensive to signalize intersections, somewhere north of $300,000 or more, depending on changes in striping or things that you need to configure to make those things happen. But I will say that this location, I was going to mention that there was, massive protest from the neighborhood around the first spud that was proposed. And I think that none of those things have come to fruition in terms of traffic. There's, ample pull around space on the site, which is really wonderful. I love the huge trees. It's a kind of one of the things that you notice, because on the other side of the street, on that part of Main Street, is just a bunch of fences. And so I really appreciate, too, the educational components that are kind of thoughtfulness that are going into the planning that is being updated on the site plan. I was also going to shout out Evan and say, look, horticulture, we're doing, they're going to learn some things in the greenhouse, which I think is really awesome, kind of that experiential learning. So really excited to approve this updated spot and site plan tonight.
All right. Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on second reading. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to adopt the ordinance upon second reading passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on final reading.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on final reading. Council members, you may cast your votes.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to adopt the ordinance upon final reading passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, this next item is for miscellaneous comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address City Council. Due to Open Meeting Act regulations, Council is not able to participate in discussion during miscellaneous comments. Remarks should be directed to Council as a whole and limited to 3 minutes or less. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up?
Yes, Mayor, we start with Dan Munson.
Dan Munson, Ward 6. I ran out of time the last time. I actually had more to say about the budget, so I'm just going to continue. Wanted to talk a little bit about the hotel revenue. I'm sad that Dan left. I think an increase of $280,000 between this fiscal year and next fiscal year is light. Here's the reason why I think that. We just did a 3% rate increase, so on a $200 room, we'll have an increase to $16 of tax collected compared to $10. We've had the University of Oklahoma built the new softball stadium that doubled the capacity. We have more out-of-town guests coming to watch games. We had ribbon cuttings recently for a soccer complex that has 22 fields, and a YFAC that's 122,000 square feet. So there's a number of reasons why I believe that we should exceed $4 million in revenue for this upcoming fiscal year. Shifting gears, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to be here for the enterprise fund, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'd like to see a cost increase in compost, $10 per front end loader scoop, which is about 3 yards. The current market is $43 for that, so it would increase from $10 to $20. So we're still less than half of what our next competitor is, which is Midwest City. And I'd also like us to purchase a scale for the compost facility. Then we can measure the amount of product coming in and out, and we can charge appropriately to commercial contractors. We'll see an increase in our revenue if we do that. And then I'd also like to provide a little bit of funding to clear and prepare additional land at the compost facility so we can produce more compost. I think we have space constraints, and so if we expand our land there a little bit, that will help us out a lot. The last 2 or 3 years, I've asked for trash trucks to be purchased for recycling, and we did that. So I'd like everyone that comes here to know that the council listens and the staff listens, and we'll be collecting our own recyclables this year, I believe, right? This year? So great news on that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Stephen Ellis?
Steve Ellis, still Ward 4. I want to start by thanking the council for item 18, which was the spending on affordable housing. I think that's a good direction for us to be going. So I was glad to see that was on the docket with nobody complaining about that. The second thing that I wanted to talk about actually piggybacks a little bit on what Dan just finished with. I think that in general, Norman city staff does a really good job of doing the analytics for the kinds of stuff that we're doing. So I think we have pretty well reasoned estimates of sort of what our future trends are going to be. And also staff's really clear about why they're thinking what they're thinking. And that's something that I always really noted and appreciated in the budget book. But in general, I don't think that Norman always gets the sort of best advice from our outside contractors on some of these kinds of things. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the proposed arena TIF coming up and some of the analytic support that's being provided for that. So I mentioned the Hunden report, the Hunden Partners report, which actually went to the county. But of all the sort of analyses of the financials of the proposed TIF number 4, it really looks like it's the only one that does anything approaching serious work about questions of diversion. So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that if you're pumping up one part of your city and it's popular enough to bring in demand from outside the city, it's also popular enough to divert demand from within the city. So the concern and the sort of watchword for that has always been net new economic activity. Hunden at least explicitly addresses net new activity, although they don't tell you how they get their number, which I think is somewhat suspicious. I actually think there's something wrong with the report, but we can talk about that later. But notice that none of the other analytic tools that you're really being provided sort of directly address that kind of issue. When you read a report about proposed financials for the UNP, or I guess they're calling it something different now. TIF number 4, that's the proposed one, the arena project. When you read the proposals for that, notice nobody's really looking at the impact of what's going to happen to the rest of town based on what goes on up there. And that's actually the crucial issue for you. The state statute says that each of the taxing authorities should really be paying attention to the extra
district finances that go on, because there are going to be effects outside of the area itself. So that's what I want to caution you about.
Craig Blankenship. Okay. Richard Baxter.
How are you guys doing? I get no response, yeah. My name is Baxter, founder of Racism Stinks, nonprofit 501c3 and registered student organization at OU. Our approach is to heal racial divides through community collaborations. We're real, not woke. Okay, now I'm gonna get to our joke. Mr. Nash. He's not gonna laugh, don't worry about it. All right, 3 skunks are walking down the street together when they come to an intersection. Skunk number 1 says, "My instincts tell me to go left." Skunk number 2 says, "My instincts tell me to go right." Skunk number 3 says, "Hey, my instincts too, but it doesn't talk to me." Nope, we getting there now. They're getting better and better, right? Help him out, pinch him or something. Okay, so we conducted a survey with dozens and dozens and dozens of people at the Second Friday Art Walk on the response of Norman citizens wanting an international parade. And we have majority votes, 96% yes, and 4% Currently, 51% of people are not involved in cultural activities due to time constraints. Engaging the importance of cultural organizations, 96% said yes, and 4% said maybe, 0 said no. This survey is still ongoing, and we are excited to say that with the current data trend, we only expect positive reinforcement for hosting this culturally collaborative event this fall, a few weeks before our 5K, the second annual Norman's Race Against Racism, also known as the Skunk Run, which Big H was a keynote speaker. Okay. This summer, as a lead up to the International Parade in the fall, Racism Stinks would like to co-host a hot dog cookout, or skunk dog cookout, as we like to call it, in collaboration with the Norman Police Department as a partner in their community policing efforts. If you'd like to volunteer, donate, or take the survey, contact me at racismstinks.org. Thank you.
Is there a Christina Rodriguez? Okay. Paul Wilson? Evan Dunn?
Evan Dunn, 1400 Garfield Avenue, Ward 7. Okay, I want to say something that will be remembered and will be relevant. Has everybody got their tomatoes and pepper plants in? Good. I got some tomato plants. I got a little 6-pack at the farmer's market this past Saturday, and I really think that they deserve, those people who show up, who during the week are creating product or potting plants or making soap. These are some of the most risk-taking people in our communities. And if they can't compete at the same price point that the industrial grocery stores can compete at, I think we need to supplement that. And we need to say, look, you are doing the work that we should all do. Have you seen these giant trucks with these giant trailers and a crew of guys who all get out and they mow a yard in like an hour, but there's like 4 of them? What's the expense there? How much on fuel, how much in time. The misallocation of our resources is something that it pains me because I have the same architecture in my mind too. I appreciate how a golf course sensibility looks lovely. It makes me feel calm. But at what price? Are we willing to sacrifice the inheritance of future generations? Are we willing to sacrifice the habitats of species indefinitely for being cozier for a little while longer? I'm sorry, I have to be the one to say it to everyone. Those superficial sensibilities, we have got to transcend them. We have got to, for our own sense of satisfaction. But see, we have to change our sensibilities for that type of commitment to fulfill that sensibility of being satisfied. Thanks for listening. I know that you've got day jobs and then you're doing this, so I thank you for the sacrifices that you make. And I know that this is asking everyone in this city to make another sacrifice. But if we can all reduce the yard that we mow 10%, if we can all just grow a little bit more.
Thank you, sir.
Cynthia Rogers.
Yeah, I haven't moved from Ward 4 in the last 10 minutes. It's always hard to follow Evan. So I too want to talk about the proposed arena TIF number 4. Hey, there's a surprise, right? I've had a little bit of time to look at the over 100-page report by Hunden Partners that was done for Cleveland County, and a lot of beautiful pictures, a lot of information. Much of it is very useful, but it's not really an economic impact analysis. If you're going to spend some time on it, which I hope you do, if I get time, I'll give you the short version. Just skip to page 80. Page 80 is where they start talking about the arena. So why do we need to talk about the arena and the parking structure? Because that's the big cost, 180 million plus 40, I don't know. That was the last numbers I saw. So 180 million for an arena and parking structure, if that's approximately it. So if you look at the Hunden fiscal analysis of the net operating income, their projections, I already told you about their assumptions, 3% growth in revenues, 5% in some, 3% growth in personnel, but let's just take them at face value. And if you fill in the missing years, they give you years 1 through 10 and then 25, and you can fill in the missing years, and you add up their projected net operating income, so that's what your asset is going to make, over 25 years, it's a little under $60 million. That is, $60 million is 1/3 the cost of the arena and parking structure. And of course, you're going to pay for that up front, and these are nominal revenues over time, so we didn't discount those. And that doesn't account for the cost of the building itself and the debt finance. So that's not a proper, complete fiscal impact analysis or economic impact analysis of that project. And in fact, I don't think that whole report mentioned the cost of the facility. It just talked about activity that would be related to it. So I would just caution you to make sure we're looking at the complete picture and not committing to a 25-year debt finance on something that's not going to cover the costs. Thank you.
Floyd Carroll.
Lloyd Carroll, 607 East Main. And I've been here for a a long time. Somebody said maybe 18 years since I put that hopscotch on the sidewalk on the 600 block. And when I got there, we didn't have quite code enforcement, so while I had a heart attack, I couldn't stand up, and I edged that whole 600 block with a shovel where I could hold myself up. And I've cut the grass over there for most of these years. My grandkids that I raised there, well, that was the reason I moved there, was because my grandkids was next door. So I appreciate you letting me raise them there, because most of you guys know that I owned a house in Midwest City and they bulldozed it in 10 days. That's what you guys are capable of as a group. I don't think this guy is quite sure what he's talking about keeping up with Midwest City. I think we could do better than that. And also, since the voting system is a little rigged or don't work, I'm voting for this mayor and this police chief again. I appreciate those guys. When I first went there, crime was not that bad. And I seen crime go out of control. And it cost a couple kids their lives. So the other thing is they put a stop sign on Finley and Main right there, which I'm glad of. So whoever did that was a genius, because in all these years, there's a lot of wrecks at that place. And I did see a kid run out there the other day, and the guy stopped, which they don't always do that. They run that stop sign pretty regular. So I appreciate whoever done that. They just saved that kid's life. So anyway, we don't want you guys to run, because when you're managed by cowards, then fools go to war. So man up and make some good decisions. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Entertain a motion to adjourn out of special session and convene into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. The motion on the floor is to adjourn out of the special session and convene into special executive session. And convene into executive session. Council members, you may cast your vote.
And the motion to adjourn out of this regular meeting and convene an executive session passes unanimously.
We'll take a recess for 10 minutes and council will convene in the